day. With that said, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Of course, I'm Breaking CBK here. We got a special show, special presentation for you guys, whatever you want to call it here. We're basically going to have some fun with you guys and sit down for about the next hour or so and going over, for the majority, one of the biggest additions to this patch. Of course, that being the hero Calamity, the newest addition to the New Earth family. As far as Heroes of New Earth heroes are concerned. So really excited that this hero has finally entered. You know, a lot of work going into it, but enough of me rambling on here. I'm not the one that designed it after all. Go figure, I have the man that did design the hero on with us. The one and only Idejder, a.k.a. Red Jedi, if you say his name backwards, if you haven't known that yet. That's how it works. Anyways, Idejder, how's it going, man?
Great, check. Mike, hello?
Check. Yeah, here, I had you a little high in my size. Let me turn you down a little bit. I think you should be good now.
All right, am I fine now?
Yeah, you should be good now. I think we're
fantastic.
Good. Fantastic. Just stop moving it around.
Yeah, no, I'm scratching. I'm sorry.
How dare you? How dare you?
No, I'm good. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
It's great to see the hero finally out there and people really enjoying her, and reading people's reactions has been most of my day today.
Almost sounds like you're even a little sick. Is that, you know, you've been working on this hero so much? Just
yeah, that's what did it.
Kind of catching up to you.
It totally wasn't Michigan.
Nothing else. Nothing else. Not that it's actually snowing outside once again.
Oh, no, of course not.
Oh, boy. The snow's coming. Anyways, we can't be disappointed. We can't be depressed because, like you said, we got this patch finally coming out. Now, Calamity, you know, so you're a designer, of course, on Heroes of New Earth. You've been around for quite some time now, to say the least. You want to give an idea of not only who you are, but just in case for people that don't know, but also maybe some heroes from the past even that you are the designer of?
So I'm the technical designer here. I've been working on Heroes of New Earth for over 5 years now, and let's see. Well, I had a hand in a lot of different things. The more recent ones I did Moira and Tarot, and
okay.
If you go older, I went as far back as Fade Engineer, Deadwood.
Yeah.
Oh, my idea was the wards getting half of their gold back, and I did the Martyr rework. Was the main push behind even making maps like Mid Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Is that Aaron in the back, aka Waza?
Yeah. Now
Aaron
just walked in and gave his 2 cents.
Like always, I'm sure we'll hear his voice every now and then. He likes to have that attention. Anyways, no. So yeah, that's who you are. So again, for people that don't know Idejder necessarily, we've had him on plenty of times before, but it has been a little bit here. With that said, so you of course were in the dev blog, so people can check you out. The beautiful self that you are.
Trolled at the end.
That was good, man. I'm so glad we put that in. You better not.
I'm not.
That. And we did. And we did. Anyway, so now what today is about, again, we kind of did this with Kane as well, of course, previous hero, and, you know, think of this as something we probably will continue with. It seems like it was received very well, and anyway, it's ready to really get kind of behind the scenes, get an idea for the newest hero coming into the scene, ultimately, again, from the creator himself, and again, in this case being Idejder, the ultimate designer of Calamity. So let's go ahead and, you know, we got a game here. I'm going to go switch to the in-game camera here. We got a replay loaded up. Now, this is to make sure, you know, rather than one of us playing it, you know, and failing on stream, that would be embarrassing. We got a player named Zlapped. You might recognize that name. He's, of course, a pro-tier player, and he actually played Calamity quite a bit today. We gathered one of his replays here that we're going to be watching. So are you at 3:30 on the replay?
I am.
Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Let's do a 3, 2, 1, and then on, I'll say go, and that's when we hit play, okay?
Sure.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. There we go. All right,
wonderful.
So we should be lined up now. Sometimes
or close enough.
Close enough, exactly. It's not that big of a deal. Anyway, so now let's start getting into discussion here. So again, we're going to be watching a game of Calamity be played, and we'll poke in and, you know, see how she's doing. Maybe comment, of course, on how she's doing and, you know, what you think, especially as far as her build and everything. But to start things off, Calamity the hero, you know, there's a lot of story behind this hero, man. First, I mean, we obviously got the web comic coming out, the comic in general. Were you a part of the story of the hero as far as the lore goes or anything?
Not tremendously. It was more so our content team really brainstorming like ownership of dragons and all of that sort of stuff. I was part of it where at the beginning we came up with the idea of having her have a dragon on her shoulders. But we weren't sure if it was going to be like Dragon was in charge or she was in charge or there was some sort of partnership or anything like that. So we kind of left it up in the air and for the content and story teams to decide on. and so they got that far and ended up with something really fantastic that is incredibly well stylized, and I'm very happy with.
All right. Yeah, no, definitely. It really has been an exciting process, and not to gloat, but being behind the scenes, it's crazy to see like how far it's come as far as that's concerned, and ultimately, the released product that we got here today. So okay, as far as the hero itself, from my understanding, this hero may have been in the works here for a little longer. Why would you say that's as far as that's concerned? Like, has she been in the works for a while, maybe even more so than other heroes in the past?
I think we probably the first version of this hero was somewhere probably in January, and it's for the most recent heroes, that's actually pretty average for how long that time took us. Taro was done since probably February before she came out, and Moira was done probably 3 months before she came out as well. So we've extended the cycle for these heroes to try to improve a lot of their qualities, but no, it's pretty average for the recent ones. But compared to heroes in the past, it's definitely a lot longer than things we've done in past years. That's for sure.
Okay. As far as iterations go, now again, heroes are going to go through a lot of process. Was the idea of this hero really, did that stick with for the most part, or were there a couple changes throughout, would you say?
The core of the hero, being the orbitals, has always been there since the beginning. That was the whole idea from the start. And that sort of was a non-negotiable, you could say, along the way. And so if we lost that, it wouldn't be the same hero anymore. We would have scrapped the whole idea and do something different. But we ended up making it work, and I think it works really well.
I think that's safe to say. And, so let's take a look now as far as what Slaps is doing here. Is he actually going to do a Bloodlust? I think he might. Look at that.
Oh, no, definitely does. So this is interesting because this is Lap's third game of this hero. The first game and the second game, he got just stomped on and crushed. And he was unsure if the hero was even worth his time, and was any good or anything like that. And then he went to a practice game and started playing around with the numbers and playing around with some of the combos the hero had, and came out of that practice game and into this one, and it was a completely different experience for him. Like, he basically ended this game on stream being like, I was abysmally wrong about this hero. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch it. Like, he sort of discovers as he plays this game a lot of the intricacies of how a lot of the combos work and such. He really figures it out, which is why you can see, like, early on he's leveling up his W with the dragons and really using them to harass, and he's figuring out how to actually make that work and how to position himself to pull that off. Yeah, it's really just a key part of the laning of this hero, and this is the game where he sort of clicks for him.
Yeah, it's actually very. I guess the moral of that ultimately is don't jump to conclusions just simply off of seeing something. Especially, give it a shot yourself, even several times before you maybe express some opinions out there. But no doubt, Zlapta has definitely adjusted to the hero, and by the end of him playing again, both you and I were actually watching the stream, and so we have an idea of maybe how this game plays out, but. Oh, we'll see. Now, let's actually take a closer look at the abilities. So you mentioned actually leveling up the W, a.k.a. the Dragon's Path, actually going in right here again, making another kill even. But so the Dragon's Path, again, that's what kind of makes the hero, as she does get another kill. The 3 dragons, in this case, kind of flying around her. Now, she has 3 different ranges. Again, if you didn't watch Spotlight, you can move them in and out. That's what the W and E are for. But we constantly see her using that A ability to speed them up, dealing more and more damage. So I obviously that was an intention. What was the idea behind that? Giving them the capabilities to constantly speed it up and give more a little bit extra burst there.
Right. So we always wanted orbitals, and we always wanted you to have the ability to move them in and out. That just seems normal. Like, if you have control of these things, you want to, and they're so core, you want to be able to have some control over them. But just moving them in and out initially, what they did wasn't really giving us a good punchy feel that we wanted. Was giving us a lot of good feedback from the testers. So one of the other designers, Burrow, suggested, why don't we just make this so they're sped up heavily whenever you go to move them in and out, and that actually added a lot of really good impact to whenever you use them. It made it feel like you're using them and having a good use for it. And there you see the ultimate.
I was also thrown off by the illusions, man. Holy crap, there's a lot of dragons.
There's a lot of dragons. But that was basically a perfect ultimate because the gunblade was right in the center and ate all of it all at once. That is the worst place to be in that ultimate. You want to get to an edge, or even out of it if you can, but if you want to get to an edge, and if you go to an edge, you'll take far less damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't go out of it, like you said. It's kind of like works like the mummy. Well, also, in cases like Kraken, they could charge out of it, but at the same time, most heroes are not able to get out of it.
You can tablet out of it and blink out of it and such like that.
basically a wall in the way. So that's the Dragon's Path. It seems like that's going to be the very effective early on ability to get. I mean, especially for the, as I call it, the poke damage, of course, for the harassment damage. And again, we've kind of seen Zlap use that here, not only 1v1 in the mid, but the other great thing about that W, the Dragon's Path ability, I think, and that we'll see throughout this, is the positioning. It really forces you to play almost. You're constantly trying to keep that maximum range, especially with the dragons out. Like, you'll see them constantly like going back and forth, as far as the hero, you know, making sure to have the dragons hit as well as your auto attack. So would you say that is a little complex in a sense, and you look forward to seeing how players adapt to that?
Well, absolutely. It's, and I believe I said this in the devlog, is that it's definitely a quasi more advanced hero, because you need to be good at positioning. You have to understand like the range, and to keep your, and if they move, you have to move, and have to be able to predict that. Zlap obviously can do this incredibly well because he's a good player, so he's able to really predict a lot of this stuff. He's unsure in higher tier things if you'll be able to do it, because it's a lot harder to predict movement. But whenever he's playing here, he's able to read a lot of people and predict where they're going to run to, and it just keeps them constantly being hit by the dragons.
Yeah.
And after we added the speed up, that's why if you hit people repeatedly with them, you do less and less damage as you hit. Because whenever you speed it up, you hit them 4 times in a row really quickly, and it was far too much damage, so we had to put a small limiter on it. But it's not really something you have to think about that much. It's more so just keeping them at range and poking people with them just is incredibly effective.
Yeah, and of course it will proc your Funeral Pyre, her passive ability. So let's actually talk a little bit about that now. Her Funeral Pyre, again, it's in the E slot, but, you know, being a passive, you don't need to, of course, activate it. It just simply works like a splash attack. Speaking of crack, you know, it has a cooldown, and it'll constantly proc when it is off. Now, that's from any damage she deals, not just auto attack. So that's, you know, the great synergy there with not only all her abilities, but especially the Dragon's Path. As holy crap, man, just diving like crazy. But anyways, the Dragon's Path, so yeah, again, another great burst potential, not only with the spinning up, but then the constant Funeral Pyre procs. So sure, you're you just love it, man. Anyways,
he was giggling pretty hard on stream at that one.
Yeah, he's what is he, level 9-0, 8-0-0. Yeah, it's safe to say he's off to a pretty damn good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea of it synergizing with all of her abilities, I think, is kind of cool. What was that idea to make it worth all of her damage dealt rather than just simply say auto attacks?
Yeah, and that just comes down to keeping the orbs being a central thing. That idea actually came directly from a lot of the SV tiers. They actually were the ones that pitched the idea of this passive ability that would proc off of all the damage and steal stats and all this stuff. Like, that ability almost wholesale came from the testing that we got and the feedback from the SV tiers. They basically designed that part of the ability.
Okay.
And so that's like, join SBT, you get to influence heroes greatly.
I was gonna say.
It's not dot damage, so you can't buy what is it?
Like a mock ability.
A mock. You can't buy a mock and just immediately proc on everybody. You actually have to hit somebody with something. But with the dragons, it's not too hard to hit people all the time. And he levels it up early because it increases the time that you have the agility and move speed. As you level it up, it increases by 30 seconds each level. So as he levels it up early, he's able to harass people and retain this buff for a longer amount of time.
Now, you talk about that buff. So yeah, that's the kind of the other spectrum of that Funeral Pyre right there. The constant buff you're getting and the debuff you're putting on others. Of course, you get 3 agility and 3 movement speed every time your Funeral Pyre procs, and that's a stacking buff. It will wear off, of course, go off when you die, but it lasts 120 seconds. Each of the charges individually timed. What was the idea also of that? Because you could have just as easily, I think, just said, okay, you get burst damage and we're fine with that, but you also threw in this stat leech almost.
Yeah, it's more like the carry-ish type of ability for, that's a, yep, really tanky here, just ate it.
Yeah.
It's more like her carry synergy ability that gives her a good scaling power, but at the same time lets her be shut down in the same way that Soul Stealer can, and you kill him, he loses the souls. You kill her, and she loses a bunch of her stacks, and so she has to sort of build them back up. Okay. And that actually comes into play later. He had a lot of stacks built up, died, and came back, and instead of going into a big team fight, went and did smaller skirmishes to try to build back up the stacks instead.
So it forces you, to make adaptations there as far as throughout the game is concerned. So, yeah, that's her Funeral Pyre. Now, let's go over one that she only has a 1 point in currently, but, of course, we'll eventually max it out. It's her Q ability, the Fire Bomb. Now, this ability, you place it at a target location, it bounces. The initial damage is actually quite a bit, but then each bounce after that, a little less magic damage. But it also will kind of vortex them in, pull them in a sense, almost like a mini Flux ulti that constantly happens. Now, it's not nearly as strong, of course, but, so, yeah, design behind Firebomb there. What would you say that is?
Yeah, it's all working for the synergy of keeping people in. That's both for in your Dragon's Path and also in the center of your ultimate. You can drop that and try to keep people towards the center of the ultimate, so it does the most damage. And it's a great farming utility because at the max level it does 340 damage to creeps if they eat all 4 bounces. So you can use it to like farm stacks and farm creep waves very, very efficiently later. Early on, he's gone for the more like kill carry route by leveling up his passive. You get it's more anti-hero compared to the farming ability. So it's 2 different paths you can sort of take and go down the farming route or go down the hero kill route, and we know which side Slap picked.
Yep, 12-0 at 10.5 minutes in. Yeah, but definitely the hero kill side. So one of the other things, actually, we might as well touch on this again rather than avoid it. This was an issue, or what more of a wrong... incorrect information applied in the hero spotlight. It turns out that the Q, aka the firebomb, it made a mention of it, how as you see right there, another kill. But yeah, it actually does full damage to neutrals, not half damage. I guess that was one of those things that may have been a little bit back and forth decision making, but it was ultimately decided, of course, as it is implemented now in live. As he finally dies, but
so this is something that Slapped actually touched on because a lot of people were in the chat were yelling about how overpowered the hero was and stuff like that, and then he got in this kind of bad situation where he got auto attacked a few times and then hit by a charge and just fell over. And he points out that the weakness of the hero is that she is made of paper, and if instead of running away from her and letting her sort of kite you with the orbs, you just charge at her and try to like fight her right where she is, because the orbs can't go into melee range. So if you get into melee with her, you can't get hit by the dragons.
Oh, true.
So if you're a melee hero, you can get in there and get on her, and she have no escape. She can't get away from you. She's just gonna die. And that's the sort of the counterbalance, is that when she's playing with the team, if they can keep the melees off of her, she does a tremendous amount of damage and does really well. But if the melees can get in and start beating on her, which you'll see, like there's a lot more examples of that in this because there's a Shadow Blade that's getting there, but she just falls over and she'll just die because she's made of paper whenever a melee's on her.
Yeah. No, that's and actually kind of going back to even what you're comparing with the Soul Stealer earlier, where they're passive to an extent. You can kind of say that is similar. Also, Soul Stealer very, he as long as he keeps the range, he'll able to land those demon hands and keep it away. But it has 0 escape mechanism. That's the same as Calamity, really. So yeah, there's a lot of range carry potential heroes, of course, in the end. With that said, so. Yeah, it's again we're seeing Slap play. I believe this is like in the 1600 range, maybe. And
I think it was like a 1700 game, something like that. Whatever. Yeah,
but yeah, especially again, even being slapped, being a pro player after all, it's understandable. Having a pretty good time with the hero, but players will ultimately have to learn and everything. But yeah, it's not like this hero just all out 100% across the board. It's just powerful and has no weaknesses. So
it's like the second game that Zap played, he went like 2-7 and just got crushed on, which is actually one of her weaknesses. That if your team has a parasite or a jungler that can jump out and jump on her with you, she crumples pretty quickly. So she has not much anti-gank if people try to go at her really hard. So it's sort of like if you see a Calamity on the other team, pick somebody that can assist ganking her really well, and you'll find it to be pretty effective.
Yeah, I think we were saying like Solstice, a Parasite, especially effective jungle ganker, seems like would be very, very powerful against her. So yeah, and not to give you guys strategies on how to defeat this hero, but that's what we're kind of basically doing here.
Oh, and I was gonna say, like, you could see just someone leaping in, and all she could do is run away.
Yeah.
But and part of this isn't to be like, this is how you play against it. It's that whenever there's a new hero out, people don't know how to play against it, so it naturally seems a lot stronger than it is, even though whenever we tested, SPGers have been playing it for months, so they understand how to handle these things, and it's balanced around that. So the faster we can get people up to speed with new heroes, and faster we can get people to understand the counterplay and how to get around things that they might see as unsurpassable, the better the gameplay will be across the board for everybody.
Now let's take our last ability here, Sunder's Vault, as it's called. And again, we've been seeing it used several times here. The idea that it creates this huge wall that you cannot exit out of, and then once it's finished creating, after about a couple seconds, I believe, it then launches damage towards the center of it, dealing the most damage to enemies that are in the center. So it's a very AoE synergy kind of ability. I like to call it the wombo combo potential. So Sunder's
definitely
Vault,
has that.
What is the idea? What was the idea with Sunder's Vault, and why a big wombo combo ability?
It started out as so many different abilities. It started out as like a small global nuke. It went in all sorts of areas from at one point it was just a wall that lasted a really long time, but that was really tedious to play against. It ended up where it was because it worked well with, like, we wanted to keep a wall because that keeps people in the radius, and you're able to hit them more through orbs, and it gives her some sort of control in a fight without giving her a stun. She has no stun, she can't stop you from teleporting or anything like that. She has no TP break. So the wall is sort of the best crowd control that she has. And the damage is a very positional thing, since she's a very positional-based hero. All the damage from the ultimate is very position-based. So it sort of lends in the same theme of a very position-based hero in almost all of the abilities.
Yeah, and again, you know, you get heroes. I'm looking at the lineup that she has right here. Maybe not the most strongest ulti lineup. Well, you got Souls, or Solstice, I should say, though, at least. So that's some good synergies there. Yeah. But
like Pharaoh Mummy Wall can Mummy Wall, and then she can put her wall around that wall and hit people even more.
And then, yeah, making sure they're somewhat in the center at least. So maximize the damage. Of course, so kind of going off of that now, I don't think Slapped eventually does, but Staff of the Master was added to this new hero. It's not often we get a Staff of the Master effect for a new hero, so that's kind of cool, and what it does makes it global, of course, as well as even decreases the cooldown a little bit less as well. So why this Staff effect here?
It's more for the players that want to have that larger awareness. That like they feel they can have that larger awareness to cast something like this globally. It's just a big utility tool, and we like adding Staff of the Masters to sort of change how you have to play, or at least as close as we can to that. And whenever you get a staff on this hero, it changes how you play, because now you can split push and nuke somewhere else and use the ultimate to assist teammates in other lanes, and it just opens up a lot of options for you to play differently, but it does come at the cost of you having to buy a Staff of the Master.
There is that downside. Yeah, that's what we always talk about with heroes that no, the ideas for staff effects on certain heroes are just ones that are implemented. It's like, yeah, it's a cool effect and everything, but are you ever going to actually pick it up on that hero? But it gives it that fun aspect, definitely, in the global presence. But I think the idea of going for more of the right-click damage and carry style is probably going to be preferred by a lot of players.
Yeah, no, this is one of those heroes that I think I touched on this in the blog, is that like a low skill player can use this hero and still be effective, because the dragons will always do damage. Even if you don't speed them up, they'll always be doing damage to people, so you'll at least feel like you're still being effective and doing damage to people and contributing to team fights without hitting that super high skill branch.
I think Calamity is a great example, too, of how much, nice big sentence. That was an example right there, actually, of really not only using it for damage, but again, really trying to trap people in to allow your team to catch up.
Like, Cthulhuphon took no damage. He was scooted out of it as soon as it started, and Shadowblade was right near the edge, so his health didn't really even move.
Yeah, wasn't able to get away. But the idea of getting a new hero, how you're not thinking too much maybe about her mid-wars presence. And it
is pretty crazy.
She's gonna be really strong in mid wars.
She builds up a lot of stacks really fast. You basically max your passive and walk around with like plus 30 agility for most of the match.
No big deal. They get that icon of the goddess even. You just get those charges stacked. I mean, you could just.
Yeah, no, it's mid wars, so silly things happen.
that's just what happens there.
Also, keep in mind that the passive has 2 cooldowns, as strange as it is. One of them is more or it's not really hidden, but it's less obvious, but it also isn't really that impactful, is the actual cooldown that you see on the ability is whenever it hits a hero. And then sometimes you'll see a little timer, like the 2-1, the 2-1 that'll show up. That's for whenever it procs on creeps. So it can proc on creeps twice as often as it can on heroes, but that's just the extra attack bonus.
Okay, so yeah, if
it doesn't steal stats or anything.
Okay, yeah, and then so if it procs on a creep, then if that timer's counted down, you can still use it on a hero right after, and it would still work on the hero then. Okay.
And while it's on cooldown, it can still proc on creeps and start the little timer. They're 2 individual timed things, and the reason we didn't make it another like dual ability with 2 more icons is just it didn't want to overwhelm people, and the creep cooldown isn't really that necessarily important for understanding how she plays a lot of time. Like, just hitting creeps and doing extra damage to creeps on single targets of creeps isn't something that like people don't really need to think about that much. It's not something to keep in the back of the head. It's not something to be like, oh, my creep hit is up, let me make sure I do this.
Yeah.
It just happens in the background, and the really good players will stay more aware of it, but you don't really have to be most aware.
Yeah, and, you know, it is pretty fun thinking about, again, her. Now, Slaps has been, as you pointed out, you know, really farming heroes in a sense, getting a lot of hero kills, thus he's got the high GPM. But at the same time, if you're in a game where you're not able to get as many active, and Big Thunder's right there. But you see right here, Shadowblade's going to be on top, and she's not going to be able to do much to get away, I don't think, other than just simply run right here. She doesn't.
Oh, and he leapt to the Malphus.
Did he? Did he try to get close?
Yep.
Is she actually going to live? Oh my god, she fakes. Oh, that was not a misclick.
Yeah, no, he messed it up. He wouldn't have lived anyway. It wasn't enough time.
So anyways.
But yeah, no, it's an example of Shadowblade jumps in and it's like, oh god, run away.
Can't do much.
But she gets a lot of move speed from hitting people with the charges, and sort of that's her defense, is that she can get pretty fast.
Yeah. But, you know, the point going at, again, you know, her Dragon's Path as well. Hell, all of her abilities, other than, of course, her ultimate you probably wouldn't use to farm with, but very, very high farm potential as far as going into the jungle, you know, taking some stacks out, or even just single stacks, or, you know, even the Ancients, of course, could be pretty effective at farming those, it seems like, by herself. So, you know, again, kind of similar to a hero like a Soul Stealer, or even like a Draconis, you know, a lot of flash farming ability in a sense. But, you know, with that comes the idea of you want to perhaps build up a little bit more of a mana pool. And so let's actually start discussing items. Now, here we are about 20 minutes in. Of course, he's developed pretty well right here. He went into the Dawnbringer. It's safe to say that's probably going to be one of the more popular, I mean, just in general for what the item does, of course. Seems like it's a pretty powerful tool. What is your idea?
It gives you a lot of the survivability. And then, so, since your E procs, since your passive procs an extra attack, like it's a full attack, it is all proc items and all on attack items. So Dawnbringer slow, if you hit somebody with, like if you hit a hero with the dragon and it procs the passive, they're immediately hit by 2 charges of it.
Yeah, the idea that attack modifier synergized with that Funeral Pyre is actually something to really keep in mind. So, but again, so going back to that, do you expect Dawnbringer to probably be a pretty popular pickup on this hero in general?
Yes, because as I said, the hero is very, very weak. So, like, a lot of people in SBT really liked getting Harkons very quickly on the hero, and then toggling it on and hitting somebody with a dragon, and it procking Harkons and hitting, and that person would then get the debuff, which would then enhance everything the hero does as magic damage. But the downside is that it doesn't give you any survivability. So you can get a Dawnbringer that can give you that bit of survivability that you might need.
I like the idea of that. You know, when I did first hear about the attack modifiers work on the Funeral Pyre, that's one of the first times that came to mind. I like the idea of also even possibly something like a Whispering Helm, you know, almost in a sense like you're getting a spell lifesteal ability, because, again, it would proc off her E, and so the dragons would constantly, in a sense, be stealing life for you. And holy crap, a big ultimate coming out right here. Yeah, you see that.
I'm sorry, Hellbringer. I'm so sorry.
You see that Mummy Wall combination. There's just nothing Hellbringer could do to try to get away. But again, that's a Shadow Blade that's 5 levels under the Calamity, yet when he gets on top of her, she's forced to really run. And, you know, without this team support, very likely could end up dying in the end. Hell, she might even still die here if she's not careful. Oh, geez,
the team's just not like their team just stopped paying attention to her, and she's able to do what she does.
Can't do that.
It's one of those heroes that you can't really. It's like if there was a farmed Flint in the back lines, you don't want to ignore him, and he's just gonna be shooting away. It's the same kind of scenario where you don't want to ignore her in the background. She'll be doing a lot of work.
Yeah. Gotta always pay attention to her. So, yeah, the idea of Dawnbringer, you know, Harkons and Whispering, again, like we even pointed out on the spotlight. Now, one item that actually kind of Slap was theorycrafted about was Rift Shards, and I think he might even get it later on this game. I don't know if it's this game or another one, but Rift Shards and how that actually works with, so say if the dragons end up
if they proc the passive, that can crit.
That actually could crit for a good amount of damage. So that's probably a pretty good, powerful item too.
If you're auto attacking somebody, and obviously you're hitting them with your auto attack, so that can proc it, every 2 seconds or every 3 seconds, you're getting an extra free attack in there, which can proc the crit.
Yeah. So that's a strong. Now I mean, it really does open up because we've already talked about a lot of. Hell, there's always still, of course, the Savage Mace would probably even be a powerful pick, especially again because of the Funeral Pyre.
The lightning items are incredibly good.
Yeah, Charged Hammer and Thunderclaw. Definitely even more.
Because you can hit somebody with a dragon and it procs a lightning bolt to go out and hit them.
That really makes it very strong as far as, again, the ability to pick up so many items. She's just going to be jump right here, and yeah, even
just
with a
blown up.
Cannot get away. So, oh, here comes the buyback. No global though. So.
Nope, didn't get it. So can't contribute.
Staff. What a noob. Not able to assist right here. So again, that's not only does she die right there, but she loses the stacks that she had on that Funeral Pyre.
Yeah,
so.
and that was a situation where she had a good amount of stacks built up, hasn't died in a long time, and yet got just obliterated there, and now has none.
Yeah.
And now has to like figure out how to fight with this, knowing that she's weaker.
So, you know, we were kind of talking about it. It seems, as far as where this, so we've seen Slap, you know, being a player that he is, he's playing in the middle role here. Is that where you almost expect Calamity to be, or do you maybe expect to be more of a short lane farmer, or somewhere else even?
You could be short or mid. I don't see suicide happening with having no survivability, but the mid lane is incredibly popular because given positions of the towers and such, you can harass really efficiently with your orbs. Because or like with the orbitals and the dragons, you can hit like up the ramp. You can hit people who are up there without having to go up there yourself and not putting yourself in danger. But the downside of middle is that it puts you at risk of being ganked from the junglers.
Yeah. I assume like we see some misses were coming up. I think that answers my question. If you hit them with the dragon and they're uphill and it procs funeral pyre, you can get a miss off of that.
Yeah, that can miss.
So,
it's just a full attack that has all the properties thereof.
Yeah, it works as if she's actually just auto attacking. So
Ugh.
jeez, that was a beautiful one right there. Once again, not only doing some good damage but trapping the ones that tried to get away. And so with that start of the fight. Overall, seems like a pretty good situation for her team. As I say that, though, again, Shadowblade chasing them out. And
yeah, her team is doing a good job of playing interference.
Yeah, getting in the way. And yeah, there you go. The Dragons. Oh, no, the Blazing Strike! Is she going to die to the catapult? Oh, she has one life. Yep, tick down.
Tick down from the pyro.
Oh, boy. So she gets taken out. Only 29 4-8 now. Darn. Struggles are real.
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry.
What is Wazza going off about?
He's playing some game. He's playing an SPT game and gets very animated sometimes.
Oh, so testing out some more fun new heroes to come on down the line. So yeah, I mean that's again Calamity here, and gonna wait for her to resurrect even. But we could start even talking about now a couple of other things that happened this patch, because there was one or two things. It's safe to say that have happened
in the game. In the 2 games before this, actually, his team was playing a lot of. Oh, the Monarch is still on his team, but yeah. Monarch and Martyr.
Both of them together. You know, well, let's talk about Martyr a little bit, because as we pointed out, you were actually a big part of the Martyr rework, and I've always been a huge fan of the hero. I like the idea that he's a very aggressive support with that retribution. He still gets that, plus a lot more now. I mean, the hand-in-hand, we discussed that, how now it can be used offensively. Holy crap.
Yeah, no, it opens up a lot of really interesting. Whenever we first put that in SPT, everybody called us crazy, and then once they started playing with it, and then once we nerfed it, they were much more okay with what the hero was doing.
Yeah, that's well. So let's talk about that a little bit now. Martyr, the hand in hand. Why was that? Again, that was one of several changes, but I think that's one of the more obvious, impactful ones that people are going to really like.
Yeah, that. And the swapping health and mana is actually probably one of the biggest great feedback things that we got. Is it gives you that big play sort of feel. Like you feel like you can go in and do something and then swap and survive, and you just feel like a badass whenever you pull off a big play with it.
I'm excited to start doing that myself.
Yeah, no, but like they were playing Martyr last game, and they really like Monarch for the new wards. They really like the new wards that Monarch brings to the table.
I think Monarch's going to be competitively picked up.
Absolutely. With the wards is incredibly strong.
Yeah.
And the saving, and like having sort of the same saving people thing going on. Yeah. It's very strong.
Yeah, the idea that you got your carry hero, has that great saving tool, but also can be pretty aggressive, and the free wards, not only that, but just multiple, even more wards on top of the ones you can play from buying. It just seems so strong that, competitors are going to pick it up, no doubt. I do wonder about Martyr, though. That Martyr's one of those changes that it's a lot of fun. I'm excited for, but I don't know how the competitive scene is gonna, if they're gonna want to test it out a lot more.
I actually don't know what they're gonna do with that at all. It's very hit or miss if they're gonna use that or not. It also depends on like what the metagame is at the time and if they can fit that into their lineups. But I think Monarch will find her way in pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well,
especially with like the ward slot and getting 50 gold back on a full duration ward. Helps a lot.
This was a support-heavy patch. That was that was pushed out many times, and there's good reason, as we see now that it's officially out with all the changes that are in. So that ward slot. I mean, now what about has the binding of it, the default bind, been changed by chance, or is it still Altar?
I have no idea.
I think it's still Altar. And it's kind of funny. I know people were making fun of that a little bit. It's like if you're Glacius, you got to play some Ward of Silence. Well, there goes my ultimate.
Oh, yeah.
Might want to think about that.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will bring it up.
Eventually. But yeah,
you're in the office, Nick. You can make changes. You can do it.
I'm not in
you
the
have the power
right now, so. But yeah, I will take credit. We talked about this when I was sitting down with Waza. I'll take credit for the Cthulhu font change, man. One of them at least.
Okay. All right.
The 180 degrees. So he has to be facing you for you to be affected by his aura there. So yeah, I might have brought that up and gladly take credit for that one right there.
Fair enough.
One of many that I've been a big part involved in, of course. This whole patch, in fact, I was basically designed.
Yeah. So something else to note about Calamity is that the dragons don't really let you juke very well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, okay,
because
actually, when
you can't really
invis,
hide super well.
When you go invis, they go invis, though, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there is that still.
Yeah.
But
in the same way that silhouettes work.
Yeah, or like the Zephyr tornadoes. Yeah, that makes sense.
But if you have them at like max distance, you're just hiding behind a tree. It'll be pretty obvious where you are.
Yeah, I found, I only got the chance to play one Mid-Wars game of her today, but, and as we're seeing it, again, the dragon's constantly speeding up, using it for farm, using it for trying to kill heroes. You're going to be pressing that E button especially a lot, it feels like.
Yeah, no, that was something that was brought up a lot, and we didn't really come up with the best solution for that yet. Like, there was talk about toggleables and, like, holding down the button and just all sorts of things that we could think of for that, but... Okay. People are spamming it to use it on cooldown, but not sometimes. It's very hit or miss. Like, if you could toggle it on and it always just uses it, it'd be annoying to have to right-click it to turn it back off if you just want to wait a second or two to use it and such like that. So the best solution ended up being the one where we just gave the players the control of when they wanted to do it or not.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, we see this lap here, just taking advantage of it, and as late as it is in the game right now, just continue to farm away in his jungle now, and he has those rift shards that we talked about. Yep,
and there you just saw it crit with the dragons, actually.
Funeral Pyre proc. So again, keeping that in mind. And yeah, as I was going back to earlier, I mean, really, as far as item potential, I mean, the whole store is basically open to her, man. I mean,
yeah, any proc item becomes incredibly unique and interesting on this hero.
On top of even a Staff of the Master effect, so.
Yeah, and that was an example of the ultimate not really doing that much damage to anybody. The team having to come in to help out with that.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, especially as the game picks up. I mean, as in any magic ability. Yeah, you see right there, they get collapse on her. Can't do much about it.
Yeah, that was just you can't really do the whole 1v5 thing. It doesn't really work out that well.
It's Saint Tarot. Saint Tarot.
Yeah, you can't crit people for 2,000 health. Don't worry about
it. How's Tarot been doing?
Pretty good. There's been a lot of mixed feedback back and forth. There's competitors have been saying, oh, she doesn't have an escape, so and a lot of mid-wars players are this hero's disgusting.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take a lot between the competitive side of the game and the more casual, like mid-warsy fun side of the game, and we have to make sure that we skirt that line and balance as best we can between the two.
Yeah, that it's already such a tough place to be in, I'm sure, and then that you throw in the idea of you gotta take into account the scene that plays just TMM. Of course, they're the majority by far, but maybe a little bit of ideas for the competitive side as well, and just all different kind of levels, and like you said, just different modes even. So it could be
like Monarch's Wards will be used and abused and probably shown crazy potential of in the competitive, where in like mid wars they're just yeah.
Whatever, not that big of a deal. I don't know if you got the chance to see Moira picked up recently in a competitive match. And
I was actually watching some of that and then listening to actually Slapped was talking about that because someone in his chat was saying that Moira was a bad hero, and he just looked over. He's like, "You guys are crazy. That hero crushed over the weekend."
Boxy play it, yeah. He's the one that he played a suicide. Actually, that was the most interesting thing that I found. But
I'm just glad that people are starting to figure out some of the more complex aspects of some of these heroes, because there's a lot of potential that we see that we don't feel a lot of the players have explored yet, and whenever they get to that point is wherever we can start doing some potentially interesting balance changes or anything like that based on how they actually play at the high level.
That must be a fun but also somewhat of a frustrating experience. It's like
it's a lot of both.
Exactly. It's fun in the sense like when they start finally doing it and they're using it, it's like that was the purpose. Great job. But at the same time, if it takes them a while, like maybe in Moira's case, it's like, come on, just figure it out. And now maybe people are starting to figure it out here. So
it's like, just take the chance and use her. Just do it. I promise it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thousands of dollars on the line. That doesn't matter. Just player, damn it. So, but yeah, again, as you see right here, Calamity is getting to the point where she's pretty much full. Not fullness, and the Energizer early on. Again, that's one of those tools too that probably is going to make sense on her in most cases. And not only gives you a nice burst of speed here to be mobile with, and talk about where she's already lacking in that sense, getting both Ghost Marchers and an Energizer. Again, it kind of makes sense though because she wants that kite ability.
Right, like a lot of heroes will get steam boots for survivability, whereas in her case, these boots are just way better for. I'm thinking about two different things at the same time, and I'm dying over here. The Ghost Marchers are better for survivability for her because she's such a mobility-based hero. You need to position yourself. So while steam boots are still really good, and there's an example if she has no TP break. So whoops. But she just needs mobility. She's a mobility position-based hero, which is why Energizer is also really good for her.
Yeah. It's going to be... Nope, should be fine here. Yeah, going to start going back onto Shadowblade now. Gets a little bit of team help here. Even. But yeah, so being able to synergize those together. But also because, like I'm talking about, she's going to use a good amount of mana. Now, it's not the most mana to use her W and E. It's only 35, I believe.
It adds up early game, so you have to be a little sparse early. But once you get some items, it's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah, her mana pool isn't nearly as something to worry about as the game picks up, that's for sure. I mean, even her ultimate, what does her ultimate mana cost? It's 250, so yeah, a fair amount. But yeah, look at her mana pool right now. Dawnbringer alone, really.
Yeah, no, Dawnbringer is like that adds a ton of stuff to that.
Yeah. It puts it up there, so. Yeah, I want to see the idea, though, of a Harkons and how that would actually... How much really?
I'm waiting to see somebody do it and just obliterate people with it because you do so much damage.
Because the Harkons is one of those items that we don't see a whole lot of. It seems very situational, but this is definitely a hero with that potential.
And like here, you can see him poke in and out of the base just to build up charges on people.
Yeah.
Like he'll just poke in, hit somebody once or twice, and then back off. Yeah. And the whole point is strictly to build up charges for the passive.
Yeah. What is she at? 8 charges now. And again, each one of those charges are individually timed, so it's not like you'll get a charge and it just refreshes the whole stack.
Right.
So that makes it, not so you're gonna ideally have a crazy amount of stacks, even if you're
still getting 30. Getting 30 agility is pretty good.
Yeah, he's at 11 now, and as he just picks up, there's 12. It looks like, and why not make it?
Nope, nope, didn't quite get it.
There. Yeah, just reset. So, but yeah, 12. So what are you looking at? 36 agility as well as 36 move speed. At this point, so it can add up.
Good.
It can add up. His snowball potential carry, no doubt.
Yep, and as I said, it's one of those heroes that if she gets killed, then she loses all of that.
True. Is that something that now? Obviously, it's as any hero, you're going to be keeping an eye on and seeing how she transitions, seeing how people really adapt and get used to her. Is there anything specifically? I mean, obviously you don't need a save, I guess, but anything really that you're going to kind of be looking at, being like, okay, I'm very curious to see how people play it, this ability or whatever.
It's more so like, what item builds are people going on, or how are they playing the hero? Are they playing her sort of like how he is as this sort of hard carry? Are they playing it as just like a nuker? Are they buying Staff of the Master? Are they using the Staff of the Master as the gank and assist gank? There's a lot of different ways that she can be played, and then we found that in SPT because all of her abilities are magic damage, and she has a good amount of nuke burst. But at the same time, she has this amazing scaling carry potential. Given your limited item slots, you can't really focus on both.
Yeah.
So, given which way people seem to favor, will be something that I'm curious to pull stats on in a bit and figure it out.
No doubt. Again, that goes back to the idea of the Staff of the Master. She can most certainly be played as a nuker in a sense, a heavy damage ganker build, but yeah, then most of the carry potential's there. So, all right, well that finishes up the game right here at least. Doesn't mean we need to stop by any means just yet, but obviously dominating performance. What, 40 kills, 6 and 14. Jeez, had a good time. It
did 30% of the damage in the game, no problem.
No problem. No problem there. All right, so yeah, that was an idea of how Calamity looks, especially in the hands of a pretty good player. So to say, Zlap right there. So appreciate Zlap for. Well, I mean, he didn't even know we were taking the replay, to be fair, but for playing the hero earlier on today on his stream at least, and allowing us to then grab the replay and watch a good player playing with the hero. So I'm sure that was fun. That's fun for you to, like you said, that's kind of something you've been monitoring already today, and going to continue to do as these days and weeks move on here. We got, obviously this is a major patch, but, we got some holidays coming up and everything, but I assume you're going to be keeping an eye still.
Oh no, definitely. We still watch everything, even whenever we're off on break or across the country.
Yeah.
We're always like reading forums, reading Reddit, stuff like that, just keeping an eye on things.
Yes, we do listen to the community, and we do take in your input 100%. I can definitely vouch and guarantee that. So yeah, Calamity again in Neuwirth, guys. Definitely should check her out and get a chance to play her, whether it's mid-wars or normal, of course. Definitely, no doubt, a fun hero. And actually on screen here, let me go back to the screen. Okay, of course, those are 2 avatars that came out as well. Cassie Calamity as well as Wind Calamity. Kind of gives you a different kind of feel. That Cassie Calamity, man. Stuffed pet dragon. That's going to be fun.
Stuffed dragon.
And then you got Wind Calamity, different kind of theme there. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
I like how that one turned out, too. So definitely check that out, as well as the there was actually a new Calamity Ward, I believe, that was also implemented.
Yeah, I believe so.
Speaking of the, let me see if I can find that real quickly. Yeah, speaking of the new wards that, of course, just came out, the ward skins. Yeah, here we go. It's the Calamity Ward right here. A little dragon, so cute. All right, so there you go. Also, guys, by the way, feel free to ask any questions you may have in chat. Idejder, of course, as always, I'm sure willing to answer any question you have. Absolutely no. For most questions, at least, if you do have any. One other thing I wanted to bring up here, too, before we ultimately start wrapping things up was, you know, with a new hero, we've been doing a thing where Scumbag Network partnering with them and making some top plays videos for us, and going to be no different here. They're going to be collecting replays and more so plays, once again, of you guys playing Calamities, and you have to submit it, though, of course, so there will be a forum post. I don't know if there's one up just yet, but there will be one up here in the near future. But the point being, at least look for that. If anything, also submit your Calamity replays to Scumbag Network, and with any big plays that you may make. Zlap had a couple in that game, but I'm sure there's many people out there that can make many bigger plays. Look forward to seeing how that turns out, as always. So, Idejder, is there anything else you really do want to say yourself about this hero, or?
No, I'm super glad that everybody's enjoying her, and watching Zlap figure out how to play her was incredibly enjoyable to watch. It's like whenever you create something that a player you can see in their mind, it just clicks and they understand like why you made the decisions you did. It's always incredibly satisfying as a designer.
Yeah, must be, and so definitely, guys, check her out, play her, and get an idea of what we're dealing with there as far as Calamity is concerned, because she is a lot of fun to play, no doubt. So. Idejder, I really do appreciate you joining and, of course, giving your input. It's always great, you know, chance to kind of get a behind-the-scenes feel, especially from the man that designed the hero. So, thank you.
Oh, of course.
Always a pleasure here. I am going to end it off here with showing the webcomic that actually came out for Calamity. If you haven't checked this out, guys, we're going to show it here on stream as well, but definitely, you know, of course, it is on the YouTube channel now. Part 2 even just came out. It's a 2-part series. A lot of work behind the scenes went into this, safe to say. And, again, this is just one of several things that came out not only in this patch, but, again, surrounding the hero. Calamity really bringing a lot of not only great gameplay, a lot of fun to the game, but also a nice lore to the game. And, you know, due to a lot of people behind the scenes working hard here. So we're going to finish off with that. And also, again, check out patch 3.6, guys. It is officially out in the game. A lot of balance changes, a lot of additions, not only the new hero, but, you know, of course, always fun skins. And actually, that video as well, we should have an avatar video coming out here. Hopefully either later today, if not tomorrow, but it'll kind of showcase all the new avatars that are in the game as well. There's a lot of fun ones, especially with the holidays around the corner here. And I'm excited for a lot of those as well. So definitely look forward to checking those out. But, yeah. So once again, thanks, Idejder, for joining us. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we will see you next time. Enjoy. If you miss any of this, this will be on VOD on the Honcast YouTube channel, most likely later on today. Have fun playing Calamity, guys. And